Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Ryan Peach. How you doing,
Hey,
buddy?
and man, I'm so good, Mr. Doug. How are you today?
Great, great. It's great to have you on, and we had Matt Jennings on earlier as Tim and Arthur and the rest of the guys in Europe. We're doing we hosted an alpha reset over there as things opened up in that part of the world, and here we are in the States. Things a
Yeah.
little bit crazy still.
Yes, still a little bit crazy. And those guys in the Alpha Reset, it was so jealous. The pictures that they were sending and stories we were hearing, I love the turnaround from just those few days. Man, it's everything.
Well, I was covering Arthur, who's our head coach, was doing a series for the men in the Brotherhood on biohacking, right? So a whole series, like a mini course on on the whole subject of biohacking. It was amazing. So I was covering for the Q&A call for him on Thursday, and two of the guys showed up from their alpha reset, just glowing. It was awesome, and I was asking him about it, and they were like, "Oh man!" So they went through the activation method, completely changed their lives, and they joined the brotherhood,
Yep.
thinking, okay, I want to keep this going, of course, and how can I build on that, having no idea what the alpha reset would do. Then they went to the alpha reset and mind blown. Their kids noticed a difference instantly.
Yep.
One guy, I won't mention the names, of course, but went back and had a conversation with his wife and had sex multiple times, which they
Yep.
hadn't had in years. His wife was crying, tears of joy, and this was, they were separated, right? And he's just on. Both these guys are on just a monumental growth spurt, and these guys were already successful, cool guys. So it's just so cool to see, man. And
Yes.
I'm looking forward to
Oh,
us throwing an alpha reset for the guys that go through the next activation method here in the States.
that's right.
Yeah, so cool, so cool. So, Ryan, today what I want to talk about is how if you change one thing in your life, you can change everything, right?
Oof.
That one shift, that one big shift, and how if you focus on one area and really make a shift, how does it affect other areas? Now, I know you've seen this a couple times. I've seen it too many times to count. But let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I know just for me in my own life, that it all seemed too simple, right? Like it was just like, oh, I'm going to change my focus from here to this. So for me, right, and probably a lot of guys that are listening, it may resonate, is I was spending so much of my initial focus every day on business and what I was going to do. And a simple shift for me was like, no, give the first part of your day to yourself, to fill your cup, to do what you need to do. And in my head, I was like, I do not have time to do that. Right. And I'd heard the stories of, if you give yourself 30 minutes in the morning, it creates 2 more hours in your day. And I was like, that's bull, like that sounds great. That's probably some guy writing a book trying to get you to buy his book. Uh, you know, it all sounds great. And then I did it, and it was simple. I gave myself 30 minutes, and it was I'm taking myself on a walk. I'm going to be listening to something, whether it's educational or inspirational or both, and I'm going to do just a little bit of meditation and gratitude, just for being alive and being where I am and realizing who I am. And man, that shift, those 30 minutes, like I came home and my wife is like, whoa, like who are you? Like you're what we talk about, being the CFO, the chief fun officer, like just bouncing in the house at 7:30, ready to go. And just the flirting and the playing. And then in business, I'm just there and winning. And it was all because of this one tiny shift of just giving myself a little bit of my day. I mean, I hate to use the phrase, but it literally was everything for me. It sent everything on this like upward trajectory, and it was just one thing, just one little thing.
Well, yeah, I can speak from my own personal experience. I was talking to my wife about this today. Um, you know, for me, it's health. If I focus on my health, everything else changes for me. Right now, it's sleep, right? I'm not sleeping and I'm eating the kids' candy.
Yeah.
having drinks at night. Like it's like the whole cycle, right? I'm in it, man, and I know I'm in it. And that's I was laughing with her about it because it's almost like I'm coaching myself from the outside. I'm watching myself do all these things. Well, willpower just is non-existent. I was talking to a guy and a lot of our listeners will know the name, so I won't say it, but maybe you'll recognize the story, Ryan, and hopefully you guys will get it. Is he went into the program, and he went in the program. His relationship was actually okay, and he was going into the program just he felt a little stuck, right, a little stale, so to speak. And he knew he could do better in his relationship, but he joined the activation method, and I feel like I talk about the activation method a lot, but I'm dealing with people that are going through it and having conversations with men or playing at that level a lot. So he went through the activation method, and what he got out of it was he got his health back, right? And he got his business back. He's making more money in a month right now than he made in an entire year, right? That Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
That's a 12x revenue, right? Revenue on that, and he's getting his health back. And he just recognized so many more things. Not to mention that his relationship that was already okay is now off the charts. But it's
Yeah.
that one shift of one focus that he spent, which happened for him, happened to be relationship with his partner, opened up the door for so many other shifts.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that because for so many of us, the shift often doesn't make sense, right? Because like I know my brain and everybody else's brain, like it just wants to keep things the same, right?
Yeah.
Our brain does not want us to die. That it is like, I will keep you safe. Don't worry, I got you.
Yeah.
Which is great. I'm glad that my brain does that for me when I'm, putting my hand on the stove or, whatever it may be. But in life, we've been doing, right, the definition of insanity, right, doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. And that was me, right? Well, like, business is not working. Cool, what am I going to do? I'm going to lean more into business. I'm going to do more in my business. I'm going to put more time into my business. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And so inviting myself to the possibility that it's maybe something that has nothing to do with business that will change everything in my business. And that for this guy, that's, it's what it was, right? Like, I need to spend more time here. And when I get this right, it fills my cup up. I'm smarter, I'm less stressed, I'm just crushing it on all these other areas because I know this area was right. And for me, you guys know this with me, there was a battle I was losing every day right here. Every single day in my brain, I would wake up and it was like, wake up, Ryan. Remember, you're not great, right? Remember, you're not enough today. There's nothing you can do. Somebody today is going to see it and realize it, and they're going to call you on it, right? And coming through the program and just getting into this understanding that, like, I am amazing the moment I wake up, right? And that there's nothing that I can do today, good or bad, to make me any less amazing than I already am. And so coming from that place, like, it was freeing for me to just be able to, like, go and drive and be honest from a place of abundance, not from a place of force.
No. Well, it's so true. It's these little shifts that occur and that do so much. I mean, think about this, right? Because I know you've been there, I've been there. A lot of guys will recognize this. Imagine something, well, let me backtrack. I'll come there in a second. What do you do when you want to grow your business? Right? You start going to business books. You take business seminars. You hire a business coach. You do these things to grow your business. What are the hacks? We were talking about
Yep.
Skillshare, right? As a
Yep.
online, courses and things like that are cool. And you and I both love to learn. So you look at those hacks and those tricks and give me the quick fix, what for my business.
Yep.
But when something's going wrong with you and your wife, for me, it preoccupies your entire life, right? It preoccupies everything and every decision is clouded. And so when you can fix that, the opposite side, when you and your wife are on fire, when you're flirting, you're slapping her butt, she's reacting, she can't wait to have you around. You're playful, you got that magnetic energy going on in the house, and you just know it's on. And you take that to a sales conversation, you take that to the boardroom, that is night and day. And that is how you and I have seen hundreds of guys transform their businesses, and they're already successful to astronomically successful and flow and ease.
Yes. Yeah, and that for me was the key, right? It was the most important thing. Like the money and the growth and the success in the business, that's fantastic. But when it becomes easy and you enjoy it and it just makes sense and it has its place in your life, well then that's true success for me, right? Where it's like I love what I do, but it doesn't define me, right? And I love being in my marriage, but it doesn't define me. And being able to just find this place where all of these things are beautiful and wonderful and they all have their place for me, but for me, I wake up enough, right? And it was all like you said, it was just one simple shift. And for so many guys, they they're trying to find that value or that identity in either their marriage or in their business. A lot of guys do it in business, and it's all great when you're winning, but then when you have those losses, it's crushing because it's your identity. And being able to make that shift out of that to where you can kind of watch that from afar and just enjoy the ride, then you begin to really win.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So when you look at this, you can imagine a guy listening to this going, okay, okay. So what's that shift I get to make? What would you
Yeah.
say to them?
So again, coming for me, just from my perspective, the shift that I think is the biggest shift that you can make right now in your brain is learning to find the value in yourself, by yourself, because of who you are. Because for me, when you're not there, so let's talk about when you're not there. When you're not there, everything you're reaching for is to try and prove this truth, right? That I am enough, that I can do enough, that I am successful, that I am a good husband, that I am a good dad. It's all forcing and reaching, and it's stressful and it's hard because it's an expectation, right? It's not a place of abundance, right? Like it's cool. Today I have met the expectation of being a good dad. Well, there's no joy in just meeting an expectation, right? Like I'm average, that's great. Like I am, but you can never go above it when it's forced and you're running toward it and it identifies you as who you are. You can never rise above that expectation. Whereas you open up the gates and you say, I am amazing. I woke up today with more than enough to be exactly who I need to be for myself and for others and for my business. Then when you have those losses, they're not defining, right? They're just, I just lost. I just made a mistake today. I was wrong, and being wrong is okay. And I'm going to move on from it, because when you're able to do that, you don't bring it home and you don't own it, and it doesn't send you down the spiral of yelling at your wife and being mean to your kids and not being present because your brain is focusing on work. So I think for these guys, a key shift for them is finding those opportunities early in the morning. There was a guy, I think it was Andy Stanley, that said, essentially beat your brain out of bed. So like be be thinking good, positive thoughts about yourself before your brain can wake up and start telling you otherwise. And so for me, the shift was not getting out of bed until I've thought of three things that I'm grateful for and three wins that I've had. And so I just sit there and I do not let myself get out of bed. And some days it comes easy, and some days I'll be in there for 20 minutes and I'm like, but I know that if I get out of bed and I've not had this conversation, then my brain has already started thinking about, well, then you need to go work, you've got to push, you've got to do harder, you've got to do more today. And I've started from a place of force before I've ever put my feet on the ground.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah. And each person's perspective and the way they get there is different. When we teach the powerful man, we have, obviously the Alpha Rise and Shine methodology, the Live Like a King system. In fact, if anybody here is listening and want access to the Live Like a King system, go over to our private Facebook group. Just search for the powerful man. Go in there and type in Live Like a King. And one of the guys, Ryan here, will get it to you and make
Yep.
sure that happens. He's our main man on that, as well as Franco, who's also been on this podcast, an awesome guy to help out as well.
Yeah.
So you want to find a system that works for you, a linchpin, right? A move that you can get, whatever it may be, right? So for me, it's the walk by the river. My house is right by a beautiful river. I'm here in the mountains, and it's just gorgeous. And that gets it for me. It's laying in bed, coming up with your three wins and your three gratefuls. But whatever it is for you guys, you need to find that linchpin that's going to change things, and stop looking for hacks, right? Stop
Yes.
looking for that trick, that one thing, because it's crazy. And this is something the guys from the Alpha Reset said, and it's something that everybody knows, right? The truths, the real big truths that shift you are things you already know, but you haven't experienced to a level that's so fine. That's why the Alpha Reset's so great. But the guy said, like, he was looking back at all the things that have been happening over the years, all the issues that he's been having, and he came to one realization, one big one. They all had one thing in common. It was him.
Yep.
And until he shifted his psychology, his mindset, his being, right, who he was as a man, nothing was going to change. And he was able to make that shift after going through the activation method and then the Alpha Reset in ways that, just astronomical. So, guys, you got to find that one linchpin, that one thing that you can move the needle on. For me at this stage of my development, relationships are amazing in my world, and it's sleep, right? How do I get more sleep, to move the needle in my health, right? And get myself moving more, so I don't suck down energy drinks to get a workout in, but I actually go into a workout without my cortisol raised. And when I'm working out, I got the energy, the confidence, and then I take that into a sales presentation or whatever I'm doing, or consulting, or my CEO role, whatever. And I have just a different flow to it.
Yes.
Uh,
And I think something that uh, I know for me, and so maybe this speaks to a lot of the guys that are listening, was being raised the way that I was raised, right? It was in a selfless fashion, right? So to be willing to put others before yourself, which I understand. I understand the saying and all of that, but you can't pour from an empty cup, right? I just had this conversation with a guy on the phone yesterday who was struggling with his wife. Wife has filed for divorce, but they're in Louisiana, so it takes a year. They don't allow you to get divorced for 365 days. He's like, so I've got a year to pull this around, and I was like, cool. You need to focus on you. You got to get you right. And no, I gotta connect with her. I'm like, you can't connect with her if you're not in the right place.
yep.
So guys, when we talk about doing things for yourself, I know the internal struggle of like, well, I need to be giving more. I need to be there more for other people. The reason that we tell you to take this time and do these things for yourself is that you can't be your best for your wife, for your business, for your kids. If you're not filling your own cup, you just can't. The greatest minds on earth, the people who have been the highest achievers and the most giving, Tony Robbins, Gandhi, all of those types of people, they took time, hours of time for themselves every day, because they knew that if they wanted to give their best to the people they were trying to serve, they had to fill their cup first. So get that in your head, that's you're not being selfish, you're just filling yourself.
Yep. I'll throw a couple other names out there that do it, because I know a lot of these guys that listen to this are maybe more business oriented than the Gandhi and Tony Robbins. But you got Steve Jobs, Ray
Yep.
Dalio. Ray Dalio says if he didn't meditate and do kind of his own routine, then he wouldn't be where he is. How are you going to argue with those two guys when it comes to business acumen and intelligence?
You can't.
Success leaves clues, guys. Success leaves clues. And if you're looking to dramatically change your physiology, your health, then you want to find someone who's got a program that they've not only helped it for themselves, but they've helped other people like you. If you're looking at changing, your business, right? You want to find somebody or a program that's done it before, and not only with themselves, but with other people. You want to change your relationships. It's the same thing, guys. You got to find somebody that has done it not only before for themselves, but for other people as well. And success leaves clues. So just look for those clues and then be smart enough to get out of your own way and take action. right?
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing for most people, take massive action.
Yes, I think that's something that we always tend to come back to, right? Is a lot of the guys that I talk to and just friends and other people, we're really great at consuming information,
Yes.
right? Like, oh, I listened to this book, even listening to this podcast. It's great. I love that you're doing it. Continue to consume. But we consume and then do nothing with it. And then it becomes useless to us, right? It's like making a delicious pot of soup and then throwing it out. Like, you've spent the time making the soup, guys. You spent the time listening to the podcast, reading the book, doing the thing. Take action. Like, again, one thing, if you read an entire book, listen to an entire podcast, and you do one thing better, one thing different today. And feel free to try and realize that that's not the thing for you. But I have a rule with myself that if I'm going to try something, I try it for 6 weeks without making a judgment, right? Because I know that if I don't give myself that time, my brain again wants me to stay where I am. And so it's going to say, no, it's not working. Remember how nice it was to sleep in that extra hour? You don't need to do this, because your brain just wants you to stay in the same place. So pick one thing and make it easy, whatever that thing is, but do it for 6 weeks without judgment, whether it works or not. And then look back over the last 6 weeks and determine whether it's working or not.
Fantastic advice, as always. Well, gentlemen, we're going to end it on this note. And as always, what I recommend doing is going over to thepowerfulman.com/bonus. That's thepowerfulman.com/bonus, where you can get a free training. Sometimes we rotate those out. We always have new trainings going in and out. So if you've been there before recently, I suggest going back again to see what's new. That way you get a free training and you get started right away. We've had the Reignite cheat sheet up there, which is reigniting the spark in your relationship. And the men have loved it. So we might put that back up again so you guys can get an opportunity to test that out. And maybe test it out for 6 weeks, like Ryan said. Again, this is a free training that's proven to work, not only for myself, for Tim, for Ryan, but also for many, many other men just like you. And that's a wrap for us, guys. Remember, like Ryan said, just take some action. Just take some action. Gentlemen, we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.
Cheers, boys.